What do you mean? You know, when I'm thinking about
only for you. You are my synthesizer, and you make my skin. You are the only one who understands this constant state I'm in. Nick James.
And I'm having kind of an allergy thing going on, so I don't have a lot of strength at the moment.
We'll lift you up.
What if we all whisper?
Yes. Oh, and then we'll sound louder.
You guys whisper and I'll yell.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you are watching the Groove Zone Network here.
And now you sound creepy.
I know. Yeah. Well, let's just get this party started, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. Hey guys, you are watching the Groove Zone Network here on our YouTube channel and listening to us on X Vibe Radio. Coming out of Western Washington today, I'm DJ D Phoenix, and with me, totally stoked, I've got a couple of our DJs from Seattle. We've got DJ Duckie.
Hello.
Hello. And from the Olympia area, we've got DJ Fury.
Who's barely awake, but good morning.
Well, there we go. And we get to hang out today with somebody that I haven't gotten a chance to hang out with in a few years now, Christopher Anton. Yes, we do. And Christopher is in Texas, although it wouldn't matter where. Wait, yeah, you're in Texas this morning, right?
Oh, we have moved.
Really?
I'm in Oklahoma. I'm in Oklahoma.
Oklahoma? Wow. When was this?
This was almost a year ago. My wife's family lives here. Her father's getting up there. He's 88 years old, and she needed to take care of him. So we came up here.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same climate, though, yeah? I mean, for the most part?
It's nowhere near as humid. It's
okay.
A little nicer, except for the tornadoes.
Yeah, except for that, you know.
The weather's great.
That's the trade-off, though, I guess.
It is.
You know?
My uncle did the same thing. His wife's parents were getting up there, and they moved. Well, they moved from Malibu because they lost everything in the fires, and then they moved. Yes, and then they moved to the southeast and got hit by all the hurricanes, and then they moved to Oklahoma. And I like, are you looking for the trifecta? What are you doing here? But that's where they're at. So
exactly. And I'm from California originally. Out there, it was just earthquakes. And the only, the major downside to earthquakes is you just can't predict them. So
right.
We were just kind of always thinking the big one's coming. But,
one of these days, and then there will be no more. Yeah. Well, we could go down a really dark.
We're just gonna fall off into the ocean, the three of us.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, that'll be something to look forward to. Yeah. Christopher, you've been a little busy since we last spoke.
I'm swamped.
You're always busy. You are always got tours going on. What? So just to catch everybody up. Christopher actually a number of years ago was the gentleman that stepped in as the lead singer vocalist for Information Society, the stellar 80s band, kind of freestyle synth pop dance. If you're not familiar with them, well, then you probably
want to know.
There you go. I'll bet Christopher
that was the big one. Yeah,
no doubt. But anyway, so that's who we get to hang out with today. What did 2024 look like for you? What was going on?
2024 actually mellowed out a little bit. But the thing is, when I'm not playing shows, so 2022, 23, we were doing gigs constantly. Like I did it was probably a record amount of gigs all around, typically in Texas, in Houston area.
Okay.
But so what I'm doing now is I'm dedicating more time to recording and trying to get. We're not really doing an album per se, but we're trying to do singles. So we've been on a number of singles over the last couple of years. And then
Okay.
probably on the back end, we'll put it together.
Okay.
As an album.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be enough tracks then for a full album, or more along the lines of like maybe.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not keeping track actually. We might be close already, but we've got about another 3 in the works, so we'll definitely be at that point. I kind of found with the way people consume music nowadays,
Right.
it's kind of I'm comfortable with that approach. I know a lot of artists who are very like they're sticklers for no, you got to make an album. They have this like moral way, but I don't. I'm not partial to anything. I'm getting older. I don't really care. I just want to keep it going.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and I don't know how anybody else feels, but I really think that once the pandemic hit and COVID came along and reared its ugly head, that really changed the face of the music industry a lot. And I know that a number of the artists that we feature on our network and on our projects do the like monthly release kind of thing, maybe kind of along the same lines as what you were saying, where they're putting out, a single every so often. And that seems to be the way to go, like you said too. And the music listeners are kind of, funny people in the sense that, it's like some really want a full album. They like the whole, like from beginning to end, and others, are totally okay with singles. So,
I think with the digital age and, cell phones and TikTok and all these platforms and this and that, our attention span has gone like, right?
Exactly.
So, you can put, and that's how people are catching on from what I've noticed anyway, is that people are, they're getting on Instagram, they're getting on Facebook Reels, they're getting on TikTok, which I don't mess with anymore, but they see this one song and it gets them, right? So they look up that one artist. I know a ton of artists that I know have 1 or 2 songs and I love them, but I wouldn't go buy a whole album. I wouldn't do it.
Right.
No,
right.
You're absolutely right. With the way that everything is structured now and people's attention spans, like you said, you have to constantly be putting content out. Otherwise, it's really easy to be forgotten, or people will give up on you. But also, you're going to get diminished returns from an album just because of exactly what you're saying. If you put this whole album together, sure, to the artist, you've got 10 fantastic songs, but to the consumer and to the music lovers, you're just not going to see it that way. That's the reality of it. And I've always been very utilitarian and pragmatic about things I do. And I don't want to waste anybody's time. I don't want to waste my own time. So it's a good structure for the way things are working now. And now we have to combat AI, which is just generating songs on the fly for people. There's whole AI artists out there, which is just ridiculous.
I know.
Isn't it?
Pretty bad.
I want AI to like do my dishes. I don't want AI to
right?
I noticed that here a while back when who was it? It was, I think, Dave Gahan and Alan Wilder supposedly had done a song together, and I'm listening to it and I'm like, this is really cool. And then it dawns on me after I see it, it's like, oh wait, AI. It's like that. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah,
it's insane. It's insane.
Well, maybe
if
they'll
music isn't a human element, then I don't think it's really music.
Not if you take
It's
then it's
really
just
bizarre,
sound.
isn't it? Especially, people like us who I mean, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. Like electronic music is really the basis of why I'm doing this. When I was very young, I got, I kind of had to figure out where I was going for myself, and I was just really impacted and influenced by Depeche Mode, ABC when they were using a lot of Fairlights and OMD and that type of stuff. And that at the time, the older generation was probably looking at that stuff saying, well, I know they were, because when I started doing live gigs at 18, the sound people were doing sound in the clubs, they didn't really understand electronic music yet. So they thought we were cheating. So, the pioneers of that kind of stuff thought they were cheating. So it's kind of the same thing with AI, except that, it's like take it to the extreme where you're not even doing anything. It's kind of ridiculous. For me, it's not fulfilling. It doesn't fulfill. But if somebody wants to do it, I don't think you can really fight it. Just, okay, knock yourself out. And, what are you going to do?
So what you're saying then is that there's not a Christopher Anton, Liza Minnelli duet coming up anytime soon?
No, I wish I could really do that for real.
Oh, I know.
That would be small, like she did with the Pet Shop Boys years back.
There you go. Jeff, Duckie, I'll bet you've got a question or four for Christopher.
Well, so I have to admit, I hadn't really been familiar with your work previously to this interview here, and me doing a quick bit of internet research, right? So you were vocalist for Information Society for a certain number of years, right?
Yes.
When Kurt was apparently taking an extended break from the band.
Well, okay.
How did that come about, you stepping in and being the vocalist for Information Society?
It's kind of an interesting story because I remember in 2005, I had decided to cover What's on Your Mind. This is back in the MySpace days when you could put a song.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I covered What's on Your Mind, put it on my profile. And then it was right around the same time that VH1 was doing these Reuniting the Band episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And they did one with Information Society. And Kurt didn't show up in the end of that one.
Oh.
And I remember at the time saying out loud, they should call me. I actually said that at the time. And then lo and behold, sometimes you put things out there. They say be careful what you pray for. Put things out there and stuff moves. And I did get contacted by Paul Robb. Now, Paul's the one, if you're familiar with Information Society, he's the one that's the amazing producer. He wrote the hits that everybody knows. He's the one that wrote those. So he contacts me, and I'm like, at first I thought it was a joke.
As you would.
And he sends me a message. He's like, hey, considering putting the band together. Would you be interested in talking to me? And I was like, sure. And he just happened to be at that time living in Santa Monica, and I was in LA.
Okay.
So I went out and met with him a couple of times, and I remember telling him, oh, I can do this. Even with all my insecurities, because I'm not really, especially at that time, I wasn't feeling super, super confident, but I put on anything I had to do to make it happen. And so it worked out really well. We did 2 CDs. So if you go out and you look for Oscillator, which was an EP, and then Synthesizer, which was the album. We did those. We did some touring. We went to Brazil. We played some shows in the US, some freestyle festivals. And it was great. It lasted a few years, and we had sort of a falling out, and then Kurt came back. So, but it wasn't ever, when I was in the band, it wasn't supposed to be, hey, Kurt's going to come back eventually. It was, this is the band. But this is the way music goes. This is
right.
Bands.
Yep.
And brands, particularly, things change all the time. I was disappointed, and that's what segued me into doing Christopher Anton, because I never considered myself to be a solo artist. It wasn't something I was aspiring for. Prior to Information Society, I always had bands that I did. It wasn't something, I never thought of myself as, oh, I'm going to be this and promote myself this way. But that's kind of just because of that, that's what I started doing.
But even the online reviews, though, Christopher, are stellar. On ChristopherAnton.com, I was noticing this morning, some of the reviews that are listed, regardless of whether you've got a band behind you or you're out there on your own or whatever, the reviews are really, really amazing. And that should, just kind of reaffirm that, it's like, yeah, you more than got it together.
Well, we are a group, which gets becomes difficult in its own right, because I would love for it to be a band. So essentially, Christopher Anton kind of is a band, because I pretty much work with one producer, and Donna Jean is always part of what I do. So it is a band, and we have a group of musicians that we always use. We've tried to think of how can we call this like Christopher Anton and the something, but that didn't really work out. That just caused confusion. So we just have to leave it very simple and just brand it as Christopher Anton, even though sometimes we do consider it to be a band. So
And it depends on what the "and the" would be, because if it's like Christopher Anton and the like Party Crashers or something, it just doesn't resonate.
Yeah, we try.
That does.
Because for synth pop, it's
That doesn't always work.
We did try. So my real last name is Jones. I go by Christopher Anton, but yeah, Christopher Jones. There were 2 other Christopher Joneses in my high school. So I knew very early, once I started doing music, that's not going to work.
Right.
So really, really young, I changed it to, I didn't officially, it's a business name, really. Christopher Anton is a business name. So we tried Christopher Anton and the Joneses. And it just got confusing. So we nixed that.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall off the lips quite as easily in the Joneses. DJ Fury, I'll bet you've got a question or two.
First of all, is that bacon on your coffee cup? That's fantastic.
I picked up this cup.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Eggs and bacon.
And eggs. Yep.
Love
that's
it.
what I thought.
With that.
I love that. I'm all about the
coffee.
I
apologize if you're vegan. I'm sorry.
No, it's all about the bacon. Second of all, you have this like fantastic kind of 90s Michael Madsen look about you, and I love that. It works. It totally works. I love that.
Yeah.
Remind me who Michael Madsen is.
A little
Reservoir Dogs. Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, little Michael Madsen, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. I happen to love Michael Madsen.
So it's a good
as far as questions go, I'm just glad to be here. I was not expecting to. I don't usually get up quite this early. It's rough for me. So I'm just here. And I'll come up with a question. I will. I promise.
All right. Well, think about it. Got it. Get it? Okay. Then let's volley back, because I've got a million questions for Christopher, but Duckie, let's volley back to you again then.
Oh, okay. Well, so I heard you mention that OMD was one of your influences, and of course, you might be able to tell it's one of my favorite bands because of my shirt that I'm wearing today.
Oh, where's your Information Society shirt?
Yeah, see, the problem is I don't have an Information Society t-shirt, so I couldn't wear one of those. I know. I've been falling down on the job. My priorities are obviously out of whack. So yeah, talk about your influences perhaps for a bit, including one of my favorite bands of all time, OMD, and any others that you.
Well, I always had this appreciation for OMD and Human League because they were so
Human League.
Good one. Simple. Like nobody, it was unheard of to do that kind of stuff at that time. When you really think about it, it would have been so out there, like even probably more bizarre than these, I don't even know what to compare it to, because at that point in time, you started finding synthesizers that were accessible to blue collar level people. Whereas before that, you had like some really high end rock bands occasionally throwing synth into what they were doing, but they were so expensive, it was cost prohibitive for anybody that was just a middle class guy wanting to create music. And because of punk rock, they were like, well, why can't I do this? Started tinkering around with this stuff, and it just exploded. So I don't know that there will ever be another time like that, because you had machines creating sounds that were literally never heard before.
Right.
So because of that, I just have immense respect, and I always, hold them in high regard.
Especially that period. I'm sorry, I was just going to say, especially that period for the Human League, Travelogue and Reproduction.
Yeah.
Those first two albums, and if you've ever gotten a chance to catch any of like the live footage from when they were during that period of time, I mean, they had projectors on stage with them, and it was the most lo-fi production, but just totally amazing. And like you just said, Christopher, but the sounds that were being created, I mean, for some reason, you lost that loving feeling off of Travelogue. That's what it was. You know, it's like that is about as basic as you can get. You know, even the first OMD or the first couple of OMD albums, completely primitive in comparison to what they eventually evolved into. Yeah. So, anyway, that was.
I love that. Even, you know, Soft Cell as well. Where
yes,
that's my number one fave. Soft Cell and Mark Allman, number one fave.
We're so like minimalistic.
Well, and I think that all led into, you brought up the punk rock, and I mean, there are obvious sort of I'm losing my word here. It evolved over time, right? So even if we're not talking about synthesizers and things like that, people started playing with what kind of different sounds can I make with these instruments, like Sonic Youth, which was Sonic Death before Sonic Youth, the Melvins, who took like the whole concept of a song and just put it in a blender and made it work. And I think it allowed people. Are you laughing at me? What's what they did?
No, I agree with you.
And I think it allowed people to not go with the traditional, this is how a guitar is supposed to sound, this is how a bass is supposed to sound, this is how, you know, a piano is supposed to sound. And I think it was okay to play with those things after that. And that opened up, I think, a whole new world of what could be done.
For sure. Absolutely.
Christopher, you said you got started in music around 18.
A little before that, I got really serious at about 15 years old.
Okay.
I started playing bass guitar.
Okay.
I loved the bass lines in Duran Duran songs, and I wanted to be like that. And I never thought it was going to turn into anything more than that.
Okay.
But I started writing songs, and then I bought a drum machine. And I was just kind of driving, and there were a couple of key moments that made me want to go in that direction. One was "Everything Counts" by Depeche Mode.
Classic.
The bass line in that song just grabbed me, and also, like I said before, ABC's "How to Be a Millionaire."
Okay.
It was Fairlights. It was digital. It was early digital recording, and it was I don't know, just something about it took me in.
Okay.
So yeah, it was about 15 when I started, 18 when I started getting serious about writing songs and recording and singing.
Okay. Because that's pretty ambitious for an 18-year-old, whether it was back in the day or these days or whatever. You know, I don't know what the average age is for most musicians when they get into it, but
it seemed like in LA, everybody was saying they were in a band.
Everybody my age. Well, it was LA.
Yeah,
of course.
Everybody's in a band in LA.
Yeah, but
LA and the Valley, just both of them. They just, yep.
It was everywhere, and I remember I recorded a demo when I was 18 of 6 songs, and I played it for my mom at the time, and she couldn't understand, like, how did you do this? Because she thought if you're going to be a musician, you go to school for music and you learn how to write. My parents didn't understand what I was doing at all.
Okay.
And so she was like blown away. She was like, how did you do this? But in retrospect, I don't think those early songs were very good. It was a drastic learning curve for me. But to her, it was unprecedented. So it was a big surprise.
Are those songs out there anywhere for anybody to hear?
No.
Do you still have them?
I don't have them, but I tell you what, though, one of them was a song called "A Broken Thought" that in 2019 I remembered it because I wrote all the parts for it, so I re-recorded it. So you can go out and find that one.
Broken Thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
And we recorded the version that I did.
Okay.
Although the original demo is similar to the original demo. This is like 4. So
okay.
I would imagine this one's a little more refined and
I think much more.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't know. I haven't listened to that original demo since probably the 90s, early 90s. So,
but all of our, all of our music that, those of us that weren't taught, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
Is by the really rough stuff. And, you refine as you go, and you get better and you get better and you get better. It's not, I don't think music is something that had to be taught.
It's true.
Music is a human element that goes back thousands of years. We didn't have schools and teachers and,
Yeah, no, it's true. And I just feel like I did a very public display of my learning, because I kept just doing things and putting them out.
That is brave as all get out.
I think it was just desperate. I just
brave AF.
Brave, desperate, call it what you want. It was brave.
Yeah. And I don't know if I mean, because there's some stuff that's out there that I kind of regret having out, but I also understand that it's a process and I'm still learning. I mean, who's to say in 20 years from now, I might not go, I might not like any of the stuff I've currently done.
Right. And who knows, maybe one of those old tracks that you did right off the bat, maybe like you'll get an inspiration to, re-release it or something. And who knows, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so let's see. So 2024 then. I knew, I've been watching you over the last couple of years as after we've been connected the first time, and just have kind of been seeing, when you had dates coming up and stuff. And yeah, you have been remaining pretty busy. What so far is 2025 looking like for Christopher Anton?
Right now, it looks like it's we're doing an Anton show next month in Katy, Texas.
Okay.
The month after that, we're doing another one in Katy, Texas. We've got kind of a lock-in with a club. I really like the owner there, and we have a good friendship going. So we like to go back to places that really want us.
Right.
But we're also now, because we're up here in Oklahoma, we're looking at Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Okay.
Sometime maybe in the late summer.
Okay.
As far as live goes, it's looking like a once a month, mostly Texas. But I don't know, something may come up. Years ago we did a tour with Alphaville, so occasionally
You toured with Alphaville? Fantastic.
That's 2017.
You and Alphaville should come to Seattle sometime, and
I would love to.
I'll be all over that.
I would love to.
Or I would go see just you. You don't need to come with Alphaville. Just come up. If you ever come to Seattle, I'm there.
Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia, like there's lots of places. There's lots of venues.
I would.
You ever come to Northwest?
I can see him playing Lacey.
No, don't do that to him.
No, you don't want to play Lacey.
No.
That was an information society. We did a Portland gig. We didn't get up to Washington.
Really?
Portland's good. Where'd you play in Portland?
The Crystal Ballroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Crystal?
Probably like a 600.
Oh, that's one of my favorite venues in Portland.
It was pretty cool. It was nice. There's still some video out there of it.
I'll have to find it.
I have seen Information Society in concert here in Seattle at the El Corazon, I think, but it was after Kurt came back.
Okay.
Yeah, like 2009 or 10 or something, maybe, or maybe it was before he. I can't remember, but it was. Did you ever, when you were singing with Information Society, did you ever come to Seattle?
No.
Do you remember? No.
No, Portland was the only one.
Just Portland, right? That's
yeah. We did.
Okay. Before we get too far into it, I was thinking about something today. I don't know if we ever went down this weird twisted path with you when you and I last spoke. I don't think we did. I don't know, Christopher, I know with all the stuff you've got going on, you probably don't get a chance to check our stuff out barely ever.
That conversation, is that what you're talking about?
Or anything.
Or our whole entire conversation. I wanted to ask, Christopher, I wanted to ask you about, it says you were in a band called Pseudo Cypher. You founded a band called Pseudo Cypher back in '98, alternative synth rock band. anything that you might want to tell us about your first band there?
That actually was not my first band.
Oh,
but,
pardon me.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because the first band nobody knows about because there's nothing out there. So like A Broken Thought, that was a band called Blue Accent. And it was very early. I was really young. But then Pseudo Cypher was something I did in the 90s. And you can find Pseudo Cypher out there, but I am not very proud of that work. I think it was super ambitious. Like I had this idea, but it just did not come together well. So,
and whether you like it or not, it's out there.
It's out there,
so. And it will always be out there.
Yeah. Such as the internet.
And did you say Blue Accent?
Yeah, which was just kind of a very naive, young. I probably came up with that when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
I just wanted to put the word blue in a band name.
And of course, Blue Zoo.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
there are far worse band names than Blue Accent. I'll tell you.
Blue Zoo.
Yeah.
Every band goes through this kind of stuff, and I remember getting called Blue Action.
You're gonna tell me that's worse than Blue Oyster Cult? I mean, I love the band. No disrespect to the band, but the name. Well, Blue Accent's better. Sorry.
Blue Oyster Cult sounds like they at least they were on a mission.
It sounds like they were high out of their minds, came up with it and thought it was funny.
Dude,
and
this band name will rock. Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah.
But I would think.
What of your work then are you the most proud of the stuff that you've done? Maybe a particular album, a particular band that you put together.
The first thing I did after departing from Information Society, we did an album called Destination X, and that was pretty much the first time I thought, okay, this is kind of getting close to the target now. This is what I've kind of always envisioned, what I think this should sound like. Not perfect, but I think it was getting much closer, and I feel like everything that I've done since then is still kind of in that vein and getting closer and closer to what I would consider, like what I'm hearing in my head,
right,
is coming out the way I'm hearing it inside.
Right.
So
do you do any of your own production work, or do you just pretty much hand that over to somebody else?
I do sometimes.
Okay.
Like the Broken Thought song, I did all that myself. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't like to do it that way because I don't trust myself completely. I have a really good working relationship with Nick James.
Okay.
He produces 90% of the stuff that I've done.
Okay. Well, yeah, and if you've got a producer at your disposal, I can see why you'd want to just hand it over to them because that's basically their job. So
yeah.
Okay.
He's so good at it. I'm a little rough around the edges, and I tend to want to do things fast, and he's the opposite, so it keeps me in check.
Nice. Okay. I remember our last conversation, you and I actually, to quite an extent, were talking about Depeche. And so since we last spoke, let's see, that means that Fletch has passed, taking it down to just Martin and Dave. But, I don't know if there's any truth to this or not. And maybe it's that whole AI thing that we were talking about earlier. But I've heard a rumor that Alan could possibly step back in, even if for only like a momentary period of time, whether it be to do a collaboration with them, kind of like what Martin and Vince Clarke did here a few years back. What is your take on that? I mean, obviously as a Depeche fan, I would think that you...
I have so many opinions on this, I'd probably drive you nuts.
Let's hear it.
Depeche Mode has never been the same since Alan left.
Thank you.
And I don't care about what Dave says or what all the, there's these groups of people who are just fanboys and girls who will say, oh, let it go. No, I'm not going to let it go because it's not the same. And we opened up for Alan. He was doing a Recoil kind of
really?
Sparse, like
I remember Recoil, yeah.
So we opened up for him in Dallas, which was amazing.
Oh, wow.
I remember I told him at the time, I said, that band has never been the same since you left. And I could tell he kind of smirked. He kind of liked hearing that.
Right.
But it's the truth. So that's like my first point. I don't think there's any truth to him coming back. It's unbelievable what happens in bands. Like even me with Information Society, my friend Clive with When in Rome, even Gene loves Jezebel. I know Michael really well. And all bands who have, their dynamics are flawed to the point where once a separation occurs, because of egos and whatever else, I would put money on it that they're just not going to reunite. And it's unbelievable to me because I think if you're doing something that's successful, there should be some sort of connection, some connectivity that brings you back to that. But I think because music is so, I don't know, the creative process and the egos involved in it, it makes things very difficult for people to come back together on. And I think, just my opinion, I think Alan and Martin are, something happened there. Nobody's ever going to know the reality of it. Something happened that was so intense. I don't think it's going to happen. It's like Johnny Marr and Morrissey, same kind of thing. It's just impossible at this point. I mean, I say impossible, but very, very difficult for these guys to drop whatever it is the hangups are and put it back together.
Right.
So,
yeah.
What I would like to see happen, you know, if I could put these guys in a room and say, this is what you need to do, this would be my advice. Get Vince Clarke, Alan Wilder, Dave, and Martin. With just those four guys, no drum kit. Just do a tour like that. It would kill. It would kill.
Oh my gosh. No doubt.
They would clean up. They would absolutely. I would go see that.
It would be amazing.
Especially
as long as they didn't play anything after they recorded after 1991. As long as they didn't play any. I've liked maybe one song after Violator, and that was Precious because it sounds a lot like their old stuff.
I thought Playing the Angel was good.
So did I.
You know, it's not like Violator and pre-Violator releases, but Playing the Angel was good, and I had a lot of hope at that time. And it just, I don't know what happened after that. It just
after that, yeah, I know. Same thing. Exciter. We saw Exciter live at the Gorge over in Eastern Washington, which was an amazing venue to hear Depeche Mode on a summer night. But Exciter just really didn't yet. Had a couple of tracks off of it that, you know, were singles and all. That one I didn't care for. But now, Before We Drown, one of the later songs that they've done within just last year and a half or so, I really like that. And to me, that actually kind of sounds more like the older Depeche Mode. I don't know if you guys have heard it or not, but Before We Drown, I do like it. Guess what? We are at 7 minutes. So we finally have our time.
We're almost out of time.
So with that being said,
one of the things though, can I say something real quick?
Well, you're going to anyway, so go ahead.
I know, because that's what I do. When somebody leaves a band and people say it's not the same, people automatically take that as a negative thing, and it's not all. If you can think of the band as a different band entirely, they can be great. And I'm not talking about Depeche Mode,
right?
But just in general, right? And I think there's that connectivity that if somebody leaves, it's automatically toast. It's crap, and I don't believe that to be true.
Yeah.
That's not always true. I mean, look at Fleetwood Mac. Who else has like? Chicago, I guess.
Journey.
You know, Journey, absolutely. It's not always the case, but you can't just judge it based off of monetary success either. But yeah, I mean, I would still say Depeche Mode, post Alan Wilder, has written songs that that I wish I could write. But what I'm saying is they're not the same. I mean, you couldn't expect them to be the same.
Yeah.
And I absolutely agree. I just don't think it's fair to say that, and you didn't say this, but a lot of people get that negativity in their mind that if somebody leaves, that's it, they're crap. And that's not always the case.
No.
Human League is another good example. You know, Human League, the original with Philip and Martin and Ian, and then look at what happened. Heaven 17 went off and became its own totally successful band, and yet the Human League continued on their route, totally changed the dynamics of the band, but yet both ended up having amazing, you know, careers.
Van Halen, Faith No More.
Right. Yeah. You know, in a spandex wearing kind of heavy metal sense. Yeah. Duckie, you have another thing to throw in for Christopher before we run out of time here.
Oh, goodness. I don't know. I hope that you can come to these parts, come to Seattle sometime. I will go see you, and I will bring some friends. Real quick, it says on your discography here that you did a cover of Fade to Gray.
Yes.
Yeah. How did so you're a Visage fan then apparently, and
yeah, we did that. That was one of my early recordings for Christopher Anton. It was 2010, and at that point it was the 30th anniversary of the song, 1980, 2010. And we covered it, and we did it in a way that was kind of unique, I think. And still to this day, that comes up. When I get my iTunes reports, that comes up regularly at the top. And this is something I need to figure out that I haven't figured out yet. Moscow plays that song all the time for some reason.
Really?
But I don't know why. It gets Shazammed in Moscow all the time.
Really?
Wow. So you're big in Russia there.
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, it gets Shazammed, which makes me think it's either a big club or some public place. Because why would people be Shazamming it in Moscow? And
you've been Shazammed.
Yeah.
I've been Shazammed.
Is I'm assuming you're on Spotify. Perhaps?
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. Okay.
Everywhere.
I'm making a road trip to Olympia today, and I'm going to be listening to Christopher Anton all the way down. I'm going to check out your back catalog there.
You're coming to Olympia today?
I am, yes, to visit a friend of mine. Yeah, but I'm coming down to pick her up and taking her back up to Seattle. We're going to hang out, so I won't be in Olympia long. If I was, I would say, hey, let's do lunch, but I'm not going to be there very long. So sorry about that.
What a bastard. Okay.
I know. I'm a total bastard. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you guys have any connections with venues that you can send my way, I would love to come out there. So
I can look into that a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They may be smaller.
Because the thing is that if you were to make it up into this area, I know that you'd pack out whatever venue it would be because of the amount of good or people with good listening taste. Christopher, any shout outs that you would like to do before we totally run out of time here in the next 2 minutes?
No, just look up Christopher Anton on Spotify, Apple Music, or Amazon. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I will be waiting for a video from you about Donna.
I'm going to send you the link right away.
Okay.
Get done with
the Bigfoot testimonial. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll watch that tonight.
No doubt. Well, guys, as much as I hate to say it at that time, and I have to say thank you very much to Christopher Anton for hanging out with us today. Christopher, as always, a total pleasure, and we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really good talking to you guys, and I'd love to come on your paranormal podcast or whatever. It'd be great.
Be watching for an invite probably later today. I'll throw you one for our show that's coming up. DJ Duckie in Seattle and DJ Fury in Olympia. I want to say thank you both to you guys as well for hanging out. Guys, don't go anywhere. I'm DJ D Phoenix for the Groove Zone Network. We've got more stuff coming up after this, so hang tight, and we'll be back shortly after these messages. For Christopher Anton, DJ Fury, and DJ Duckie, we're over and out. All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you. It was a lot
Very
of fun.
nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, good to meet you too.
Indeed.
And we'll get on.
Carried away.
We'll get looking at some venues and stuff and get back to you on that.
Yeah, if you have venues or contacts, send them my way, and
we'll build one. We'll just build it. They'll come.
And they will come.
They will come.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we just get cut off horribly, guys, thank you so much. Totally appreciate this, and I guess we're done.
Thanks for setting it up. It's a pleasure.
I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Sure.
Okay, let's see.
Now, what do you mean? When I'm thinking about